Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of M.S.M Reviews, and today we'll be reviewing Avengers Age of Ultron. Let's get it started. Well, I have to say, for the second Avengers movie, I think they topped it. This, I was more excited for this Avengers movie because I actually did read the comics of the Ultron and to see what they'll do with him, bringing him into this. Because I always found Ultron really cool of a villain. And seeing this movie, I thought he was even more cooler. The design they did for him was really badass. It was awesome. With that said, let's get into what's in this movie. Basically, the movie opens up with the Avengers taking down this base in Syria. And this is when we get to see these newcomers, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. And basically, the team takes down the base, and they finally get the staff that Loki had, because they were using it to do experiments and whatnot. But they finally retrieve it back, and we get Scarlet Witch put something into Tony's head, making him see what he feels, and apparently Scarlet can see what he sees, and it's kind of shocked. And that's when we get the title scene, Avengers: Age of Ultron. So Tony gets the staff, and they all pretty much show up back to their base, and Tony pretty much starts to Bruce telling him we need to make pretty much a shield over the wall, and so they don't have to fight all the time. So since Scarlet Witch put this thing in his, like, make him see what is gonna happen, it's really made Tony paranoid and wants to prevent this, seeing his friends die. So Bruce pretty much gives in and helps Tony try to make a advance, like, deterrent around the world, pretty much using the staff. So with the staff having one of the stones in it, mind stones actually, and Jarvis trying to calibrate a way to, transfer that and make it. But the device is too advanced or whatever, and we see that it might have destroyed Jarvis. And Ultron pretty much gets all this information, pretty much wire himself into everybody's stuff, pretty much the internet. And he starts creating a machine of himself. And we see the Avengers having a party, and everybody's having a good time, and everybody leaves except the main Avengers. So they're talking, doing a challenge, trying to lift up Thor's hammer. They made a game of it. And you see Thor kind of get nervous when Captain America steps up, and you see the hammer kind of nudge a little bit, and Thor kind of gets a little worried there for a minute. And next minute, the party gets stopped by the entry of Ultron. So Ultron makes his way in, and pretty much saying, "I got no strings on me," and pretty much making his plans clear that he is gonna save the world, but he's gonna destroy it. So they destroy Ultron's body, but he's not dead. He's in the internet, so he knows everybody's information, pretty much. So we pretty much get a cutscene of all of them trying to grasp this and find out Tony did, this shit behind their back, and they're all mad at Tony because he didn't tell them. So now they talk to Fury and pretty much all make a plan to find out where he's gonna be, where Ultron's heading. And we see Ultron talking to Scarlet Witch, and Quicksilver pretty much gets them on his side, and they head to South Africa to meet one of these buyers of who is selling vibranium, and makes the deal, and then the Avengers show up trying to take him down, and Ultron gets away. But Scarlet Witch pretty much putting mind shit into Thor, making Thor see, and Black Widow and Hulk. So Hulk ends up going on a rampage in South Africa, and we see Iron Man in his big suit, taking on the Hulk. Which this was awesome. It was called a Hulk Buster or whatever. And so Tony made it in advance so he could, if Hulk went out of line, and try to calm him down. And we get this funny scene. Man's trying to calm him down. He's like, go sleep, go sleep, go sleep. But it ain't working, and they're going back and forth. And Tony finally knocks him out. And we see, and there was another scene, Hawkeye, he's shooting all these machines that look like Ultron, and we see Scarlet Witch try to sneak up on him to put it, and then Hawkeye turns around, sticks her with one of the arrows to shock her, and he's like, I've already been through that mind control crap. I'm not going through that again. And then Quicksilver comes out of nowhere and kicks Hawkeye. And I just thought that was funny because, kind of made you think about the first Avenger movie, because, he made through that whole movie, he was on a mind control. And then we cut to them, escaping, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, and Ultron. And Hawkeye, they gather up all the team members, and they head to a secret base. When it turns out, it's Hawkeye's house. So they are staying hidden until Ned Fury comes and talks to them. And Ned Fury talks to Tony, Tony pretty much saying he didn't mean to do this, but he saw something. He said, you shouldn't blame yourself, and what are you gonna do? You gotta figure out a way to stop Ultron. And he said, the worst part about that, he's like, yeah, the worst part about it, you wasn't dead. You wasn't among them. Because he knows Tony wouldn't just stand there and let this happen. He would have died trying to save his friend. So, pretty much putting Tony's mind at ease, saying, yes, he just messed with your mind. So, Tony pretty much gets some clarity, and they start working on some shit. And Thor leaves and goes up to, and we see Thor fly up, pretty much to figure out what Scarlet Witch put in his head. Pretty much what she put in his head is showing him like a premonition of Ragnarok, which, we'll find out what that means and what's to come into Thor's journey. So he goes to meet the doctor, and the doctor helps him find this place. And he goes to this water hole to talk to these witches. And pretty much they tell him the information about the Infinity Stones. And then we cut to the Avengers finding out where Ultron's at, and Ultron has kidnapped one of the scientists to make pretty much a half human, half android body. And it's almost completed, and they catch up with him, the Avengers, and pretty much kidnap the body he's making, and they get away with the half of the body getting made. And then Thor comes out of nowhere and shocks the machine, so the machine is fully created and pops out. Well, because right before this, Tony and Bruce are putting half of Jarvis's program into the rest of the body, so it will have Jarvis' intelligence pretty much. And then we cut to them getting discovered by Captain America and all of them. And they're getting upset, and it looks like there's about to be a fight. And then Thor shows up and shocks the machine. So the machine is full, it's powered up, and it finishes making the body, and it pops up Vision, and you see the Mind Stone on his head, and we think, they're about to fight him, but it turns out they're not. Turns out Vision says he's not Jarvis, he's not Ultron, but he understands Ultron, and he needs to be destroyed. And Captain America is not sure they should trust him, but it turns out, they have no choice. And he picks up the hammer, Thor's hammer, and gives it to Thor, and it's like, we need to go. And everybody sees it, it's like, okay, yeah, he's worthy. So, they all head to the final point in pretty much the third act to stop Ultron and destroy him before he goes pretty much global, destroying the world. And they pretty much stop him. Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver pretty much turn on Ultron when Scarlet Witch finds out, what's his master plan is pretty much to wipe the whole world of existence. And she's shocked about this, and then, they decide to help Tony and the Avengers, and pretty much see, they misread him and not give him a chance pretty much. But then we get to them going to Syria to stop Ultron's master plan, and they pretty much destroy a great action scene here. And the crazy thing is, I didn't see this coming. All the bots are destroying. Ultron is pretty much trying to shoot everybody down, gun them down in one of the airplanes. And we see that Hawkeye is probably going to get killed with trying to save this boy. And then all of a sudden, Quicksilver comes out of nowhere, puts a car in front of him, and he's the one who took the bullets. So Quicksilver dies, and we see Scarlet Witch unleash her power and destroys half of the machines. And then we see Hulk jump up into the airplane, throws Ultron down, and Scarlet Witch whips Ultron's heart machine out. And we see one scraggly robot get away, and then it gets caught by Vision, and they have a talk saying, you know, life is precious because it doesn't last. And he destroys the last bot. And we pretty much end the movie with them. Ends the movie, them saving the day, and we get a cutscene of Thanos. We get Thanos at the end of the credits, pretty much picking up the gauntlet, saying, you know, do it myself.